Chapter 1. Stephen had never so much as entered his father's room without asking, so his first B&E was remarkable enough. That the target was a morgue, that he did it alone and of his own volition, could have convinced the most skeptical of folk to consider that he had been possessed, and perhaps he had been, but certainly not in a Stephen King sense. And how could Stephen ever have guessed that the first girl he would see naked from head to toe in real life would be a dead one? But when things go wrong, they have a tendency to go very wrong, especially in a town like Wasilla. The girl was Paris McCarthy, and Stephen had known her his whole life. Unsure of what to bring to break into a morgue, Stephen took a hammer, screwdriver, and flashlight from his father's toolbox. He stuck his mini tape recorder in his pocket. He pulled on his hoodie and snuck out the window of his bedroom. The morgue was a mile from his house. He got on his bike, pulled his sweater over his face to shield against the wind, and began pedaling. The streetlight outside the morgue flickered in quick spurts. Stephen grabbed the door handle with his sleeve and turned. No luck. He reached in his backpack for his father's hammer. It took a couple small swings to wedge it in the door. The wood splintered, but as soon as he resorted to the hammer, he had given up the idea of a clean break-in. The door pried open, and Stephen pulled the flashlight from his backpack, switched it on. Wasilla was a small town. Dead bodies didn't exactly pile up. Paris's was the only one in the morgue, and it was lying on a gurney in a cold room past the cramped lobby. A sheet covered her face, just like in a movie. Stephen grasped for the edge of it. This is why he'd come, after all, to see her one more time. He took a deep breath and pulled the sheet from her face. Stephen had never seen a dead body, and he was struck by the paleness of Paris's skin. She had always been fair-skinned, like most redheads, but now she was glacial, nearly translucent. An anchor dropped in the pit of Stephen's stomach. The only real color in Paris's skin was the faint red of some markings around her neck. He wondered if there was an Autopsies for Dummies book. He looked around, wondering if the coroner's paperwork was sitting around. Plenty of rumors circulated through Wasilla High about Paris. She was called a slut, ridiculed for being goth or punk. For all Stephen knew, she was a masochist. He'd seen porn where girls liked to be choked. But the truth was, she just wasn't a Wasilla girl. She didn't dress like a cowgirl or listen to country and classic rock. She didn't like to shoot guns or ride horses. Hell, she didn't like skiing, snowboarding, or even snowmobiling or four-wheeling. She was a city girl with no city, and it was unlikely she would have fit in anywhere in Alaska. She reminded Stephen of Kate, the first girl he'd fallen in love with, and any time he saw Paris at school or church, his pulse quickened and blood drained from his brain. The same was true now, only it was out of confusion and sadness. There was a rumor that Paris had a tattoo. She was only 16, so there was plenty of speculation as to how she had gotten it and where it was on her body. Standing next to her now, Stephen couldn't help wanting to know. If the tattoo rumor was false, maybe the rest of the horrible things people said about her were, too. Carefully, Stephen pulled the sheet further down Paris's body. It was like looking at a fake person, some kind of mannequin, how stiff and plastic she appeared. Her breasts nearly flattened into her chest, only her pubic hair stood out from the morbid hue of her skin. Stephen walked around the gurney and saw no sign of a tattoo. Not that she couldn't have one on her back. After all, weren't tramp stamps more common for girls? He hesitated, wondered if he should look. He couldn't help remembering how well her ass filled out a pair of jeans.